And she just started flailing at me and hitting me and making all kind of weird noises. So I just thought she's having a bad dream.
Greg Bell had been concerned when his wife Glenda went to bed early with a headache. The 63-year-old wasn't usually one to complain.
She's had headaches, but nothing like this one. This headache was piercing.
Then at 1:30 that morning, Glenda began thrashing in bed.
I just reached over and kind of tapped her and said, "Hey, it's okay, you're just having a bad dream." She wouldn't wake up. It scared me. So I jumped out of bed, and my son was here in the basement. So I hollered at him to call 911. I was trying to wake her, and she was just kind of having convulsions or something. So I was pretty panicky.
When the ambulance arrived, Glenda was still unresponsive. So paramedics airlifted her to Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Missouri, 100 miles away.
That really concerned me. They was strapping her down in the gurney, and this whole time she never would wake up. She just was still out of it.
Greg and his son Josh began the 2-hour drive to Springfield.
We was definitely praying on the way up there. I was just, really scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. Trying not to drive 90 to 100 mile an hour. I just wanted to get there as quick as I could.
By the time they arrived at Mercy, it was 4 a.m. Josh had already started reaching out to family and friends for prayer. Now, they waited for an update on Glenda's condition.
It was just me and him in that empty room with my wife. Felt like I couldn't pray myself. I was going through so much emotions at that time. I broke down. And what was on my mind, I thought, my son's never seen me cry.
A few minutes later, the doctor came in. He told Greg that Glenda had a large intraparenchymal hemorrhage, bleeding deep in the brain from a ruptured blood vessel. The only course of action would be to put her in a medically induced coma and wait for the bleeding and swelling to subside. They weren't sure if she would ever recover.
I said, I just lost my mom 2 months ago. It was unexpected. I point blank asked him, I said, could she die? And he said, yeah, she could.
After the doctor left, Greg asked Josh to pray. Moments later,
she just kind of spoke up and said, what's going on? So we explained to her what had happened and everything, and she's like, well, I feel fine, I'm good. The doctor walked in and he looked at her and he said, what's going on here? But the shock on his face is what, something was going on here. He wasn't telling me everything that was happening.
Her doctor asked Greg into his office and pulled up the scans of Glenda's brain that showed a 6-centimeter brain bleed.
And he said, I want you to see this. This is just bad. He was in a state of shock. He just couldn't believe it. I think he realized that there was more at work because they'd not touched her yet. They hadn't done a thing to her. She just talking away, and she was just chatty and carrying on.
Now there was no need to put Glenda in a coma. Soon their family and friends started coming in to pray and show their support.
We had a room full there in the waiting room. That comforted me as much as anything.
I'm like, why are you here? This is pretty awesome. I didn't have any pain. I was good. I just didn't know, why all those people were there.
Other than slight memory loss, Glenda was back to her old self.
I think she could have got up and run around the building, but they wouldn't let her out of the bed. They wouldn't let her move. They threatened to tie her down even because she was like, I need to do this or I need to do that. She was wired.
By the end of the week, the brain bleed and memory loss had resolved. So after a short stay in rehab, she went home.
I was just amazed and so thankful that, that everything had come through like this.
Glenda is now completely back to normal and more active than ever. Her family is grateful for the prayers that brought her through.
Prayer was everything in my wife's survival. I don't think she'd be here today if it hadn't been for the prayers going up. And not just my prayers, but so many prayers that was going up that day. We're going stronger now than we ever have. God's the only one that done this.
If they hadn't prayed, I don't think I would have made it. God is so good. Ask big. He's a great, big, big, big God.